Welcome everyone, and I too would like to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the lands in which we all now meet and are gathered here today in all of the different places that we are around Australia in this online learning place. So I was very flattered that Tilly asked me to come and speak with you all today. It's definitely not something I'd ever thought about before coming today. It wasn't, it's never been like a strategy of mine, like, oh, I've got to have a publishing plan or, you know, publish a lot during my PhD. It's actually never been about that. And it was great to reflect on my process to, I guess, really get clear on exactly how I've managed to publish so much and what that process has looked like. So I don't know what so much even looks like, but to me it felt like quite significant. So I'll do a bit of introduction so we can get there. So just for those of you who don't know, I'm Simone Blom. I'm a PhD candidate with the School of Education at Southern Cross University. I'm in my final year of candidature. We'll see how long that final year goes for. It might stretch out a little bit longer, but we'll see. I just completed my in-candidature review and got some amazing and really positive feedback last month in July. So that was really exciting. In terms of my passions, I'm really passionate about education, and one of the key reasons is because I really love working with people. Further to this, I love nature. So I love being in nature. I love being connected with nature and feeling nature. And I'm very, very blessed to be able to combine both of those things in my research. So just a quick zip around for who we've got on the call today. If you could just introduce yourself, say your name, where you're at in your PhD journey, if you still are, and what your passion is. Do you want to go, Tilly?
Sure. So hi, my name is Tilly, and I'm in my second year of my PhD, and I received my ethics application 2 days ago with some changes. So yeah, pretty happy about that. And my passion would, just like yours, Simone, I think I love working with people and also working with children and also being in nature. So I think it's quite similar to yours, and that's why we're all in this space, I guess. That's about me.
Thanks, Tilly. Sylvia?
Hi, hello, my name is Sylvia. I'm from Indonesia. Currently, I'm in my second year of my PhD. And I'm currently completing my ethics application. I have that, I must go in a proofreading process because English is not my first language, so it will take time for me. And my passion is, of course, teaching. Upon completing my PhD, I wish that I could bring some valuable knowledge to my people in Indonesia, and it can promote education in Indonesia, I hope.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, Sylvia. Katie, you're next on my screen.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Katie. I am in the final stages of my PhD, moving into what I guess I'd call the 4th year, trying to write up at the end. And my passion is for creating opportunities for people to be creative in supportive environments, particularly in the visual arts. So that's what I'm really passionate about, is accessibility to creativity.
Awesome, thank you. And Sal?
Hello team, lovely to see all your beautiful smiling faces there. I'm at 4.5 year point. I've just done my 56-month report, and I am doing my 100th draft of my discussion chapter. That was a bit of a joke, by the way, girls, so don't be but, you know, I'm pulling it all together bit by bit and just learning something every day. And my thesis is on my tribe, which is adventurous older women who are baby boomers. So they're between 50 and 70, and especially the ones who do scuba diving, because that's my industry and my field and my passion. So I'm about, I guess I'm researching constraints and negotiation, accessibility to active aging for women who don't necessarily have to sit at home and mind the kids or clean up after their husbands or do boring stuff, the adventurous ones. So thank you.
Thanks, Sally. And Maya. Oh, mute.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
My name is Maya. I submitted my PhD last year and it has been examined, and I've responded to my examiner's report, so just waiting for final kind of paperwork to go through, so that's exciting.
Hey.
And my kind of probably broad passion is environmental education research, working with children, very hands-on approaches to research and understanding, developing my own understanding and exploring with children how we can better embrace our entanglement with the non-human.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. What I love is that everyone shared their passion as it is their PhD. Which I think, given all the different stages we're in as well, is quite spectacular. I don't know if that's commonplace. I don't know if you're listening to a recording going, oh, my PhD isn't my passion anymore, because I know that it can shift and change through your journey. But that's really cool to hear. So thanks, everyone, for your contribution.
Yeah, we have AD as well, Simone. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
AD. Oh, cool. Hey, AD, welcome.
Hi, I think that maybe you can't see me because I've got my camera off because we're actually driving back from Brisbane. So my name's Adi, and I'm at 18 months. I just did my 18-month progress report on my PhD. I'm a visual arts and design lecturer until the current moment in China, and I'm doing my PhD on pedagogy in international settings, and I've had to make a few pivots with that. Yeah, and I think I'm passionate probably about visual arts. Yeah, and adult education.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Adi, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for Tilly. Thanks. Beautiful. So as we progress today, I do encourage you to take some notes to reflect back on, and they don't have to be your standard notes. You know, I'm not going to ask you to rule a margin down the page, but whatever way, you know, whatever we kind of workshop today, whatever sparks you and whatever you go, oh, cool, key point, just jot it down and have that as a little bit of treasure that you take away from today. And whatever that means, it might not even be something I've said, but it might be something that sparks an idea that you've got, or something. So do go away with something from today. I was going to share about my journey, and I was doing the classic get your PowerPoint together and find an image, and I came across this quote, and I thought, wow, that could not be more fitting in terms of talking about publishing during your PhD, because for me, my PhD is not about the end point, and I'm guessing for many people it isn't. It's about this journey, and it's about what we learn along the journey. And so even though I know there's all these, you know, how we measure our PhD in terms of like our progress reports or our ethics or our candidature, in confirmation of candidature or in candidature reviews, what it is for me is just this space where I'm just learning as I go all the time, and really trying not to be too forced by those confines and that pressure that I feel. So even in one of my first journals that I wrote in when I was quite young, I remember talking about life being about the journey and never about getting somewhere. It's always about what you learn along the way. So I was very blessed after I finished my honours thesis, actually, to be involved in a research cluster, which is the Sustainability environment, arts and education, which I know many on the call today are involved with. And here I was gifted with the opportunity to publish a book chapter from my honours thesis. I was late putting my proposal and I had to get it together over the Christmas holidays. So I recall Christmas holidays, 2 weeks or 4 weeks, just getting like every day, like I was just in the zone of pulling stuff from my 40,000 word honours thesis to get it into a 6,000 word chapter, and really wanting to pull out the key ideas and the key themes, but also having to change it a bit. So after working on my honours thesis for 2 years, you know, you can get a bit sick of your work when you've read it like 100 times, Sally. I'm guessing you might be at that point a little bit, but I was such an exciting opportunity that I just grabbed it and went, I'm going to take this and run with it. And it was such a great opportunity because I learned about the editing process and submitting a book chapter, and also learned some key things that I want to share with you today. So I also just wanted to check in. How are you guys with publishing? Is it something that you've done a lot of so far, or made a start? Where are you at with it? You've got a few, Sally? Yep, great, thanks.
I just have one, Simone, and I'm really struggling.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks, Tilly.
I think I've got a few, but I'm quite confident at publishing with people, and often am become the first author in that, because I'm happy. I enjoy the process, and I'm happy to invest the time. But when it's time to publish on my own, I get really nervous.
Cool, thanks, Maya.
I'm in the middle of publishing my work in a conference, so this workshop will be very useful for me.
Okay, beautiful, thanks, Sylvia. Katie and Adi, did you want to add anything to that?
I've published a few things, but always in groups like Maya. For me, nothing's been done independently, and I'm realizing that it would have been a really great opportunity to do that, because I've got lots of ideas, and it's about finding the motivation to do it without an external deadline of a group of people wanting you to write with them.
Yeah, great point, Katie.
Hi everyone, Adi here. I have an exhibition history, which practices research publications, and I have a couple of written publications, articles and journals, one that's actually stuck in peer review at the moment. So yeah, just interested in the process.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, everyone. And I will come back to that writing individually point as well. So we'll keep going. So in terms of an outline, what I'm probably going to talk more about is a little bit of theory, but I will put into practice some of what my experience has been as well. And I was thinking about, you know, what is publishing to me, and the three things that really stood out were purpose, people, and passion. I came up with a list of other P's and realized how much I love alliteration, being publishing from your PhD is being the title of this workshop. But I also thought some of the problems, and I'd love to have a chat, you know, more about some of what those might be for you as well. So first up, I wanted to get to purpose. And I think knowing the importance of your research and your work has to be something that you really develop and embody. You have to know that the contribution you're going to make is above all else. Okay, it's above any kind of, I don't know about if the word ego is the right word, but it's about really getting yourself out of the way and going, I've done the work, it needs to be out there. So what is the best way for me to get that out there at this point? And to me, that's always comes back to purpose. And it doesn't mean I don't do other stuff in life. I think the balance thing is really important. I think if you want to go out and catch up with your friends and do, you know, normal stuff, that's important too, because it all feeds back in. But if you get that, you know, that feeling like, oh, okay, I've got this opportunity come up, or I've got something I really want to get out there, I think grabbing hold of that purpose and being aware of what's getting in the way and talking with people about it and getting support with it, or just identifying it as something that's just getting in the way, is really important. So what I was going to get you to do now was to write down the elements of your work that you think are interesting and new. So wherever you're at, whether you've just got your proposal, whether you've, you know, you're finished or whatever, what are some of those bits of your research that you think are really interesting? And I put the word new in inverted commas there, because a lot of the work I do talks about nothing is really truly actually ever new. You know, it's just kind of reframed and reiterations of same ideas, but in different times and in different contexts. So yeah, I'll just give you a minute just to think about that and jot that down, whatever that looks like for you. And I'll do this process as well while I'm going along with you. So I'll just give you a little bit of space now to do that. Is anyone stuck at all? How are you going with it? Good, great. Thanks, Sal. Okay. So did you manage to pull out a few things? You went, yep, this is interesting. I think people need to know this. Yeah, thanks, Maya. Yeah. Okay. That to me is a start. And I often think about when I'm doing, you know, doing research, finding out what I want to find, and I find these little gaps. I'm like, where is it? I get really excited if I find something, but often I don't find a lot, or what I want isn't exactly there. So I think if I'm trying to look for it, there's probably other people that are trying to look for it or might try to look for it in the future. At that point, I kind of park that as a bit of an idea. And I've actually got like a little spreadsheet, because I love spreadsheets, that I've set up, and I just have my ideas, and that's just sitting on my desktop. And anytime I go, oh yeah, I can't find that, or that'd be really interesting, I put it there. And I try to keep that alive and keep that moving. So sometimes it might drop off. Like sometimes then like, you know, it'll go a year and someone will publish something exactly like I want, and we go, awesome, cool. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Someone's done it. If it sits there and it's kind of starting to niggle at me a little bit longer, what I'll do then is move on to my next part, which is people. So who are the people in your PhD world? Like, to me, this is really important. And I was tossing up whether to put people or purpose first here in terms of my process, because sometimes it has been about the people first. And then other times it's been about the purpose. I can give some examples of the differences here, and while I'm doing that, you might want to even draw a little map of the people in your world. So who are the people you might want to publish with? You know, have you got some people in mind already? Are there other connections that could be made with other people in the future? And what are some of the ideas or concepts that you could write about? So while I'm talking about some of my experiences, I'll just invite you to do a bit of mapping. After my first one was obviously as part of the C research cluster. So if you're not involved in a research group, I'd say get involved. It's an amazing place to be mentored, to work with others, and you get back what you put in. So the more you go along, the more you contribute, the more people you kind of included, and the more you show interest in wanting to write. You know, you've got to want to publish. It's got to come from you. It's got to be something where you go, yeah, this is worthwhile. I want to do this. So that's probably the first one, the first book chapter that I published. And similar, the second collaborative book chapter that I published, again, was through the C research cluster. And then if I think about going, I'll just have a quick look. Yeah, so I also ended up getting together with a couple of people at a conference. And this has happened in a few different situations. So I miss conferences this year. It's been a bit of a challenge, but I've found conferences have been an amazing place to meet people. So I think I think three of my, I'll just check in the chat here. Oh, cool. Oh, sorry, I'll just, oh, okay, thanks, Tilly. And thanks, Sal. Oh, I don't know any research clusters in the School of Business and Tourism. I'll put out some feelers because I know.
Very isolating, very isolated, our school.
Okay.
You know, because I've grown up as a PhD candidate with Maya, because Maya used to be in our workspace there, and the things I learned from Maya and the support she received from education was just wonderful, and she shared that on. But it's the School of Business and Tourism is sadly lacking.
But you're looking at the environment too, aren't you, Sal?
Oh, well, I'm a chronic cleanup diver.
Yeah, well,
environmental champion of the Gold Coast and of SCU and a couple other things. But for my thesis, I am a School of Business and Tourism.
Okay, well, just consider though, because the C research cluster is really open, and that's where your passion lies. I think you'd have some really valuable contributions to make in that space. So it doesn't always need to fit into that box, if that makes sense. If you're interested in meeting some people who are also interested in the marine environment and passionate about that aspect of your work, that could be something that you could contribute. Yeah, just something to consider anyway.
Cool.
Yeah. And yeah, and Adi just added there as well, I think people are very important as we are each other's peers. We are so lucky to have C. It's the same in the art world. You'll exhibit with people who you study with, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah.
What does the SCAE stand for?
Sustainability, environment, arts, and education.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. So, you know, just finding where those research spaces are, and sometimes you might look outside of the university as well, because there's so many research groups. They're often affiliated with universities, so you have a look at where your interest lies, but there are a lot that you can get involved with, and more often than not, they do involve writing together, and they're a great place to meet people. But with conferences as well, you know, if you attend a conference presentation and you enjoy it, go and talk to the person afterwards. If you've got some resonance, just let go of any kind of you know, not feeling good enough, or not feeling like, oh, that was a really good presentation, I'm not that good. You know, just really let go of any of that, and just go up and just pretend you're like a kid is the way I often think about it. Just be like, oh, that was that was great. This is where my research is. I actually think it aligns with some of what you've shared. Would you like to just get together on a Zoom meeting one day and just have a chat about our alignments or something like that? I did that a couple of years ago with someone. I actually presented over Zoom because I couldn't make the live conference in Melbourne, and we had similar interests, and we got together on Zoom and ended up writing a paper which we just submitted, and that was all on Zoom. And similarly, yeah, I had an experience in a research symposium presentation with 2 other people, and we met in the foyer outside and went, oh, that moment in that research symposium was really interesting. We all talked about it, and then we went, oh, let's write about it. And I just received today the final proof for that, so that's about to be published now as well. So there's those little moments, I just grab them and I go, I don't know what this means, I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm coming back to people. I'm really excited to learn with you, and even if it doesn't end up with anything, I'm not invested in it. I'm not attached to that final outcome. What I love is that my PhD journey no longer feels like it's just me on my own. I feel like I'm working with a team and lots of different people, and in all of those conversations and in all of those meetings that we have, my ideas are getting really clear, and my position is getting clear. I don't feel like it's filtering down or watering down. I don't feel protective about my knowledge, like this is mine or anything. I see it as so co-generative, and we work together and we learn from each other, and I take it and put it in my context, and whoever I'm working with takes it and puts it in theirs. And that to me is so beautiful as a process, and something I didn't think was possible as my PhD, but something I wouldn't I can't imagine doing it without it now. Like, it just feels so intrinsic and part of it. And I know, Maya, what you shared before, it you're good at that part, so let me continue as well, because I'd love to talk a little bit more about writing on your own. So yeah, if you can get to conferences, any way you can kind of get to meet people, research clusters, conferences, even if there are other people, like if you read an article and you really like it or it really resonates, just get in contact with the author and say, hey, I really like what you're writing about. Are you involved in any research groups, or do you have any groups that you're a part of? I'd really be interested in just discussing these ideas. It's a really great way to extend yourself and extend your understanding, and I don't feel like then you're relying, I don't know if relying is the right word, but leaning too much on your supervisors. It really feels like it frees up their space and their time as well, and then you're kind of feeding back into your supervisor team, because of course your supervisors are your first port of call when it comes to publishing as well. I'm working on a paper with both of my supervisors at the moment around my methodology, which is really exciting. So always putting it to your supervisors first and going, oh, hey, I'd love to write about this, if it's stuff that's coming directly from your PhD. But if it's just like concepts that you're pulling out of your PhD, or some ideas that you want to conceptualize, then, and there's others in the space, then yeah, go for it outside of that supervisory team as well. So I always do check in with my supervisors though, so they're obviously at the top there to give you lots of advice about your steps. So yeah, Sal, in terms of how did I write about them, do you want to explain the question a bit more? So I did do an autoethnography in my honours thesis, but do you want to talk a bit more about what you mean as well?
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. I had the opportunity to, I needed to write a paper, and basically I went to a conference February last year, and it was a tourism conference, and we went out to the reef and we went diving, and there were some problems on the boat there that I identified, but didn't say anything about it. And also on the trip was an editor of a big tourism journal, And he said, Sally, why don't you write me a journal article about your experiences as an older woman today? And I went, oh, yeah, that'll be cool. But he wanted it something on general, older women in general. And I went, well, how on earth am I going to be able to pay to get back up to Cairns, accommodation, a week's trips of day boats? I said, that's not going to, I can't do that. I'm a student, unfunded. And then one of the other academics said, well, you can do an autoethnography. And I said, what's that? So she said, well, you're telling your own story. So I went, I can tell my own story. So I've been learning about that because I put my first draft in and they went, oh, yeah, that's interesting. We'll have it. However, we need you to change this and this and this. So I've just, I've submitted my third review on it. So I've realised that autoethnography is not all just talking about me. I've got to talk about how I really felt, and I've got to talk about my flabby thighs not wanting to be seen in public, especially in front of all the world's best academics within a 2-metre space because there's no change room and drama. So I think with the autoethnography, all that's got to go into it. And I'm going, okay, so that's what I'm learning about autoethnography. So my third review's just gone in.
Congratulations. And that's such a good example as well of when you get an invitation and you just take it. You know, you don't faff around, you use your networks and go, okay, well, how do I do this? This person's asked me to do this. I don't have the funds. What, it's there to be done. I'm happy to do it. What do I need to do to make it happen? And you use your networks and draw everyone in. So that's a great example. It doesn't always have to, a paper I wrote recently, we did kind of like, we focused more on doing the analysis part. It was like a lot of the theoretical and the conceptual work that you might do or papers you might publish might not have empirical research, you know, the way that we understand it. Obviously that's great, but often theoretical and conceptual papers are really important and needed as well. So there are things you can think about, you know, writing about a methodology or writing about one of the methods you used in your autoethnography. Like there's so many parts that you can pull out and draw out. Like you'll find that once you start writing, you know, generally it's 6,000 words. It's like nothing. You're like, oh, hang on, there's so much more to write. So it's amazing those little seeds that you can really turn into a bigger paper. Recently, I always look out for special issue calls. Special issues are great because they'll give you a timeline and a deadline. And recently, there was a special issue call for this little journal I hadn't really heard of. It's called Knowledge Cultures, and they put a special issue call out for papers around the COVID-19. And me and a colleague who'd recently been writing together and loved it so much, we went, what can we do again? And this came in, and it was a ridiculously short timeline, but we could write a commentary piece, which was actually only 3,000 words. So we ended up writing about 5 or 6 and we had to cut it down, but we did it in about 2 months and it's published now. It got published last week, and that was actually ended up being with my daughter and her daughter. So the 4 of us wrote together, and that was really fun as well. Like my daughter's 9, her daughter's 8, and they fed in some of our concepts that we unpacked about homeschooling during COVID-19 and the theory of no time. So we did a lot of theoretical heavy lifting around what time means and what time means in the home space and what that means for homeschooling. And she's a homeschooling parent and I'm not. And so it was a really interesting exploration of what that actually looked like. And that was a friend I did my science undergrad with 20 years ago. We just found ourselves in the same space and went, oh, well, how about we just do some writing together? So, you know, I think those kind of opportunities, when they come up, you just grab them. If you get a sense of like, oh yeah, I could do that, just do it and just move. And like I said before, I almost think of it like a garden. Like if I've got that spreadsheet and I've got those couple of things, I'm like, oh, I need to tend to that bit now, or I need to tend to that part of my garden, or I need to tend to that part, or my house. Like often I feel in my house, I'm like, oh, I need to do a little bit in that space in my house. It needs a bit of a clean, or you know, that's the way I think of it. So there's always all parts of being looked after. It's not just, oh, I'm just going to funnel in and do this. Of course, you need those focused times sometimes, but, you know, keep practicing your ability to keep a few things on the go, I think is a great practice as well. And welcome, Neha, as well. Great to have you here. So the next one, we've talked a little bit about this at the start, is your passion. Now, I was very excited, as I said, to hear that your passion, for all of us, I think our passions do involve our PhD, but maybe there's some things outside of your PhD that also bring you enrichment and that you like doing in your spare time. And as I was just sharing, a nice little segue, that we don't want to sacrifice those things. It's not like, oh, I'm already full up with my PhD. I can't, if I start writing, then I'm going to have to stop going on a walk in the morning, or like, we can't do that. It's got to be, the writing has got to be a part of our PhD time, and we've got to value it as such. So as I said, like doing those little things, I think is how I've made it work, because we're all under time pressure. Yeah, thanks, Maya. You've taught me a lot about that too. Like, yeah, absolutely. You know, the importance of looking after our health is huge. So, you know, I think it is one of those sacrifices. The only sacrifice I would say is that, you know, if there are things that you're doing, like, I don't know who might be listening to the recording, but if you're going out and having a big night or any of that kind of stuff, then that might impact on your ability to do some writing. Like, if you're not looking after yourself and nourishing yourself, I think that's what really makes the space. And I find the writing really nourishing. And I think, Maya, if I come back a bit to you know, writing on your own, when I look back at that summer where I spent that, I remember that summer so clearly, because I was like, oh, I missed out on this chapter. And it was so good to have a deadline. It was like the book chapter gave me a time frame and it gave me a deadline. And that's what I like about special issues as well, where it's got it's already got the context of what they want. And you know straight up, like you submit your abstract usually and they'll let you know if they want you. And so, you know, you kind of almost got, you're almost guaranteed from the start, which I think helps in a lot of that argy-bargy review and you don't know where you stand. It's like you're really writing for a purpose.
Yeah, and also just the confidence as well. Like, okay, this idea, you know, must have some kind of traction.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not doing it alone. Even though you're alone in terms of being the only author, when you submit to a special issue or a book chapter, you're working with the editors so closely, you actually don't feel like you're alone. And I think the other point on that is, if you do write something on your own, is to check in with your networks, like get people to proofread it, like just keep putting it out there. And in that sense, you don't feel like you're alone. If I get stuck, like I never sit on writers, I don't have writer's block because I don't like myself. Like if I get to a point and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to write, first I'll go off and go for a walk or just do something else. I don't sit there banging my head into the computer. But the second thing I would do is, yeah, contacting someone. Like I'll bring in back in people. That's where I just keep bringing people back in. And I do the same. Like if people ask me to have a look at some of their work, or I love doing that. And, you know, I always try to the best of my ability, make time and just do it. I just try to action things straight away. More so these days. Like I hate things just hanging around and being in my inbox. As much as I can, I just go, cool, I'll just prioritize that today and I'll prioritize that. And, you know, like this has worked for me. I work a lot. You know, I'm not on a scholarship, so I work a lot. My PhD is somehow kind of pretty much on track. I think it'll blow out a bit because of COVID and restrictions in being able to actually conduct a lot of my data in classrooms, but more or less I'm pretty much on track, which is great. And the reason I feel like I've been able to do that is because of this. I think the publishing has given me energy to feed back into my PhD, and it's been really interesting because it's not like, if I had to think about it and go, oh, okay, so I'll do my PhD, full time, and then I'll publish, and then I'll work at, like, if I think about it in those blocks, it doesn't quite make sense. But if I just don't think about that and just go, what's there for me to do, and just do that, it's like everything kind of falls into a bit of a flow. So in terms of where will it fit, I think it does just end up fitting. And I'd be interested to hear what others have to say about that. Maybe even, Sal, did you want to talk about, you've got your autoethnography example. How did you go fitting that in?
Well, my supervisors don't encourage me to publish at all. And I think that's because I'm a slow student, and because I'm an adult, and because they just, I tried early days. I had all this great data from 2016 from my undergrad, and I wanted to keep, I wanted to put it together and publish it, and my supervisors were okay to help me with it for a while, and then they just said, no, put it away, do your thesis. And so that was 18 months into the publication phase. It took me 3 years to get them published, but I did it by myself each time. So my supervisors don't encourage me at all with that. And so that's why the I don't ask them for help on any of that, because they'll just say, oh, concentrate on your thesis again.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a total self-starter on that, and self-motivator, and resilient, and determined not to bin my research that I've done, because it was very important. It took a lot of my life to do it, and it has enormous value to me, and I wasn't going to let them tell me, no, that's not as important. So
great contribution, Sal. Thanks for saying that, because you don't always have everyone behind you. Everyone's got different philosophies on publishing during their PhD. So I think that's that's a really pertinent point. So thanks.
I'm wondering if it's a school thing, if it's a business and tourism thing. I'm actually just going to draft an email to the head of research in School of Business and Tourism and say, well, there's a research cluster encouraging, nurturing, supporting PhD or whatever we are, HDRs. Could you send me the info on the business one, because I can't find it, and see if we can start something like that. Because so that's that story. And then the other one is with the autoethnography. And then I went, well, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. So I'm doing it, and I'm just going to do it by myself. And that will be my first solo paper. And so at times, when you get a review back and you go, oh God, I know so little about this, and it's so crap, my knowledge on autoethnography, maybe I should write to someone else and say, hey, you're good at this, want my paper, and you can be second author and want to tidy this up. But then I go, come on, Sal, you can do this. You don't have to get help on everything in your whole life. You can put on your big girl's pants and get in there and just nut it out and do the hard yards, and then I will have that solo paper that I did. So
exactly, well said. And I think it's okay to still, you might just have colleagues you can ask for help, like who won't need to be a second author, or are just willing to give you that grace and go, oh, actually, I know a bit about autoethnography. How about you think about this? So there might be people in your life that are willing to do that as well.
You know who'd help me with that, Maya? Would be Betty, because we started the ukulele group at uni, and we got Betty in on uke. So she's the ex-professor and she's a ex-head of it. So she will ask us. And the people in our sustainability club, Miss Tilly and Miss Maya. Yeah, so we've all got other networks that we've created, our little family that we've made in uni, and
exactly, like you've got to draw on that. Yeah,
so you're spot on there, Simone.
Yeah, thanks, Sal, really valuable. Does anyone else want to talk about fitting it in, or how they understand that?
I think, I was thinking about how, when you're talking about the special issue and how helpful a deadline is, and just in the past month or so, I've worked on a book chapter and a conference submission, and because I have so many working across sort of 3 different research projects for my postdoc role, and, you know, lots of other things going on as well, there's always things due in a shorter amount of time that somehow are demanding of my attention. And so it's like, oh, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll get to that. But when things are actually due, you find the time, you magically find the time for it. I just need to be, set stricter kind of goals for myself, and that will be really helpful for me. Because you know, together conference in a day and a half, and it's like,
amazing.
oh yeah, I kind of actually can write sometime, maybe.
It's amazing what that pressure will do. So if you do, you know, I don't advocate that everyone has their summer holidays in front of the computer or anything like that, but you do have like a holiday, you know, think of it maybe just a little, instead of reading a book, just write one. Like, you know, just think about how you can use your time, and even if you set yourself a deadline, like I'm going to send this person a draft on this date, and you have that person be really like hold you to it, then that can be another way. If you want to get into, if you don't want to do a special issue and you want to get into a, you know, I guess a specific journal, and you know, that might be another approach that you take as well. Does anyone else want to add anything to that?
Yes, I do, Simone. Sally, I was really interested in what you said about you're a slow scholar, and I'm a slow scholar too, and I often have to balance procrastination with being slow, because I don't want to get into that place where I do procrastinate, and actually having the deadlines are really, really useful. But I think there is something to be said for slow scholarship in terms of not taking on too much, and you know, doing a proper job of it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Adi. And one of the woman who I work with, where we put that paper together, the 3,000 word commentary in a couple of months. She's a big advocate for slow scholarship, and she did her PhD over, I think, I can't remember if it was 7 or 10 years, or it was a huge length of time. She did hers over, and she was doing it part-time. She had 2 kids. Like, she was just, you know, she just really enjoyed the process for herself. She was homeschooling, and she didn't go crazy on literature reviews. She just picked up conceptually and wrote a very beautiful award-winning PhD thesis. And that was really, it's gorgeous. So I think what you've said is really key. It's knowing to me, it's knowing if it is something that's going to nourish, or if it's something that's going to drain me. I'm actively really trying to not just say yes to everything now and be discerning, but also know if it's something I've got space for, if it's something that's, when I say nourish, to me, I feel like, oh yeah, if I do that, that's going to feed me back. Like, I'm going to valuably contribute, and it's going to feed me back. And I have had a history of probably overcommitting, and I'm definitely working on not doing that. And all it's meant is that things for me have taken a bit longer than they probably needed to. But now, as I'm working on just, I guess, managing my time a little bit more, it's still about saying yes to opportunities that present. I think that's really important, but knowing my capacity and going, well, this one might take a bit longer, and that's okay. But this one, I
think it's capacity and passion, because if you stick with your passion, then you will have the capacity for it. And so then the other things that may not be so worthwhile, or you know, for me to follow that path down, I can just say, is this within my passion? Or and if it's not, then I can make a decision through that.
Yeah, exactly. I think often I just picture myself doing it. I'm like, am I going to enjoy doing this? That's actually what I've done my whole life. I think my grandfather wanted me to do engineering when I graduated from high school, and I did a year of it. And then I decided I transferred to doing teaching. And he went, why are you doing that? You're not going to make any money. and I went, because it wasn't fun. And my grandma was in the background like, yeah, because it was very much like the patriarchal grandparents. But that's kind of, I guess, been a bit of a philosophy for me now. It's like, when I think about writing that paper, do I actually think I'm going to enjoy writing about that, or am I not? If it's something I'll enjoy, then, you know, the one I wrote with my daughter and my friend, my colleague, and her daughter, that was so fun. My daughter, she was so excited when it was published. I don't know if she quite understands what it all means, but it gets a strong sense. She's like, can we do another one? And I was like, is this a bit weird that I'm writing papers with my daughter? Like, shouldn't we be going out down the beach having ice cream or something? But for us, that's something that we really enjoy together. And she loves kind of talking about things and drawing things. And so, yeah, to me, it was just super fun. And it was great doing Skype and Zoom calls with my friend in Victoria. So I think when it's like that, to me, it's not, I don't worry about the timing of it so much, or not having the time or capacity. I just trust that it'll kind of just be there. Yeah. So that, I guess, comes up to our problems around time. I think just understanding, I think what you shared, Maya, was really gold there. Often we have to put ourselves first and go, you know what, I know that I've got all of that work there, but right now I just need to, like this morning I had some stuff I needed to do, but that article came in with 3 days to review the proofs for the article, and I went, I'm just going to do it right now. That other stuff, I'll get to that, but this needs to be done now. And just went, okay, an hour, I'm just going to do the proofs, get it back in, so it's not hanging around for the next 2.5 days and I'm trying to madly get it together in the final bit. So yeah. Oh, I'll have a look. I just got some Sal.
Yeah, I just sent an email to the head of research at School of Business and Tourism.
Ah, cool.
Today I'm participating in publishing during your PhD workshop. I've been introduced to School of Education Research Cluster.
Yeah.
Trying to get a little bit of interdepartmental jealousy going on, rivalry. Very inclusive space, in my mind, has great value. Does our school has anything similar? Let's see what happens with that one.
Yeah, keep us updated, Sal. It's great to be thinking about those things, and you're definitely someone who starts groups, so you might be the fire starter for that one.
I am.
Yeah.
I've stopped starting groups, I can tell you. This is like Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Sally, I'm 62, and I used to start groups all the time.
We'll see about that, but that's great. Thanks for sharing, Sal. So yeah, with time, just think about it. Is it your passion? Is it something you're going to enjoy? If not, then don't worry about it. As I said, I think earlier, like, don't be too attached. I don't worry about my authorship on the paper. Like, I don't mind if I'm first, second, third, 15th, 20th. Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm there because I enjoy it. I mean, I don't know if that'll change over time, but that's how I feel about it right now. Not good enough yet. I think we could kind of, I'm not going to publish until I'm really, like, until this is really, really good. Like, it's got to be perfect. I'm a bit notorious in that way, I guess, because I'm happy for people to see my raw journey. I don't mind if it's not perfect. I think this is my learning. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to be raw. You can see that I'm not perfect, and you can see my journey. Like, that's part of it, you know, like, it's like, I don't know, I'm not a huge Facebook person, but I guess if you have photos on Facebook, you know, of course you change over 10 years and you're like, oh, I can't believe I was wearing that, or I can't believe I was doing that, or whatever. But same thing with my writing. I'm probably in 10 years, I'll go, oh, I can't believe I wrote that, or I can't believe I said that. But I actually don't care, because that's part of my journey, and people can take that if they want. They can leave it, whatever. Like, it's just, it's part of it. So the isolation factor, I think, is, I've discussed it a little bit here around, you know, our PhD, you are made to feel like you've got to do it on your own. But as I said, like, people, like, just, if you ever feel isolated, I reckon just keep putting it out there as much as you can. And even if you're quite shy, or you know, you feel a bit nervous about it, go to anyone that you feel safe with and start to build trust with one other person. And then once you've got that trust, often that can actually expand outwards and you can start doing it with other people. I was really lucky actually with my honours to have Maya actually read mine, and that was a huge step for me because that was I think one of the first things, so like putting it out there, I was like, you know, click send to Maya. I'm like, uh-oh, what's she gonna say? But you know, obviously Maya's really lovely and was just so positive, and so finding someone that you trust in that way. But Maya also gave me some really amazing steps forward, like how to develop it. So, you know, finding those people that'll support you with that, I think is great. And then if you are feeling like, oh, okay, cool, I feel confident now. Like that first book chapter, one of the people I'd referenced and whose work I loved wrote me a ResearchGate message and said, you didn't understand this concept, and gave me a bit of a talking to through ResearchGate. And I went, okay, that's my first bit of criticism, but I was a bit I was a bit like at first, and then I went, okay, this is part of it. If I'm going to put myself out there, people are going to not always love it, and that's okay. You know, that's fine. That's their opinion. We're all entitled to have our own. Does anyone have any other barriers that they'd like to address or talk about?
I just wanted to share quickly that not good enough yet. My kind of experience with that is definitely, even through the research kind of supervision process, I would always hold on to things for so long, and it definitely extended my journey because, you know, I wrote so much more than I needed to for every single chapter, and spent a very long time trying to rein my PhD in. But also my supervisors got to a point where they said, it's ready, I just need to let it go. And I cried, and I thought I could spend another 6 months on this and I still, you know, would have so many things that I wasn't 100% happy with. And then one of my examiners didn't want me to change a single thing about my PhD. So I think you could keep working on it forever, but spending some of that time that I've kind of focused on all those little things on actually publishing would have been, yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think often we have this perception, and then also our ideas change every second. Like every time we read through it, we've probably read another article, we've had a conversation, like something's changed, and we're going to want to put that in. So I think there's just that moment where you just go, okay, send. This is where it's at right now. I had that recently with a paper that's just about to go into AJE, the Australian Journal of Environmental Education, and what we started with at the start, after I think it was 5 revisions or something, is not what we ended up with. And even just reading through the proof this morning, I went, oh, really? I could, and I went, no, it's finished. That was its contribution, and that's a fantastic contribution. Now I can, from whatever I didn't wanted to change there, or that could be the next thing. That's the seed for the next paper. And I think that, you know, helps the flow of the writing as well. Hi Marianne, great to have you here. Thanks for coming along. We're probably finishing up pretty soon, but it's thanks for joining. And if you've got anything to add, please feel free to. I didn't know whether you guys wanted to see what I'd written so far. I felt like it was a little bit, I don't know.
Yes, of course we do. Yes, of course we do.
It felt funny, but anyway, this is I just drew it from my in-candidature review. So that first one at the top is the book chapter that I've been speaking about. Oh, I'm glad I put this up actually. Doing book reviews is a really good one as well, just in terms of getting your name out there, getting confidence in being published, and getting feedback, and that whole process. Often journals are looking for book reviewers. You get a free book, you read it, you give your opinion, and you write something about it. It's a really fun process actually, and that was one of the first things I did as well, just to get a bit of confidence. This was the first paper I wrote with my friend in Victoria that we did our undergrad together. This was really fun, and this came out of doing a conference presentation at the Australian Australian Association of Environmental Education, and we've been meeting. We had like a little study group, and we went, oh, let's put in a presentation, and then we wrote a paper from it, and that was really enjoyable too. This one, was just published last week, that I wrote with my daughter and my friend, and this was a book chapter I wrote with Maya. Actually, this is the second. I don't know why that's, sorry, that shouldn't say impress anymore. I think we're 2020 now. Didn't it get landed, I think? That was really fun. Like, that really taught me about collaboration and how to write together with people. It was beautiful how Maya led the process too. I think that makes a big difference, in terms of how it's led and organized. But I loved those Zoom meetings. They were just so much fun. I really looked forward to them. So that's that so far.
Simone, I just have a question on book reviews. Sorry.
Yeah.
How do you start off? What's the process like for a book review?
Okay, so with the say for instance, this one's in the Australian Journal of Environmental Education. You'll notice they put out in the newsletters. I think it's the Australian Association of Environmental Education newsletters. They'll have, they're looking for book review editors. And there's also someone who does the book review editing on their committee. And I think that's Blanche, is it, Marianne?
Yep, that's Blanche.
Yeah. So you could even get in contact with Blanche and just see if there's any books that need to be reviewed. It's a great step in doing that. But if there's another journal that you're interested in, or another journal that you'd like to publish in the future, I think it's a good step as well, just seeing, Sylvia or Sal or Adi, it might be something a bit different. So whatever that might be for you, having a look at those journals and seeing who the book review editor is and who you can get in contact, because they're always looking for book review editors if it's something you want to do.
Amy might be able to suggest some too. Yeah, because she often asks people to do book reviews.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Marianne. So this is what I was looking at this morning. It was actually in that research presentation that I did. I spoke to two of the participants afterwards, and we ended up just getting together and chatting and ended up writing about it. This is one that's been in review for quite a long time. Marianne might know the update on that one. I think a lot of us are authors on that one, which has been an interesting one at the start.
Yeah, I think Amy's thinking about sending it. We might send it to a different journal, so yeah, it could be a little way off yet.
Yeah, cool. And that's part of it too, which has been a really interesting journey, just seeing how sometimes it can take a long time, and that's okay too. And this one with you, Tilly, and Adi as well, and Maya, just which I think is still with the reviewers. This one was part of a group that was formed out of some school education initiative, and I just got involved because I was interested, and then a few people got together and said they wanted to write about it. So again, it was around the people. I just wanted to get involved more in terms of learning about the School of Education and getting together with people. So that one just came from that. And I'm working on a few others at the moment that aren't even at this point. And then conference presentations are also worthwhile. You can get them listed as papers, and then sometimes they do get published online. I know that one in the ERA repository, the one that you put together with my name on it, Marianne, as well, through the ERA repository. So yeah, there's a few of those. The same here with this one, a presentation that I did got listed. So even though I know that conference presentations and papers aren't always encouraged, sometimes I know that people say they're taking away from publishing in more reputable journals. I think they can actually work nicely alongside, and you can even reframe things and look at how they're presented in a paper and at a presentation as well. So that is almost me done. So just had a few takeaways.
Can I just add something there, Simone? Probably one of the big things for you too was the C research cluster you probably talked about, but
yeah, I've talked about it for about half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you've got the C research cluster, but you've also got Teach Lab too, which are going to do similar things. So getting yourself connected up with a research concentration is fantastic.
Yeah, Sally's already emailed the School of Business and Tourism to see what theirs are, so to see if they can get one started. So that's yeah, definitely that was one of my key takeaways, I think. So as part of that, I do just have a few take-home messages. So with the people, be honest about your capacity and what your interests are. As I've said, just to an extent, not I don't know if detached is the right word, but not being too invested. See you, 80, great to have you here. But pull your weight, lead if you need to, but also let others lead. Just kind of see what works best in the dynamics of that group you're working with. Share your ideas unashamedly. Talk to people, let them know what you're thinking, let them know your passions, see if there's a fit, you know, to be able to work with people, knowing that your PhD research and your PhD journey doesn't have to be alone in that way. I wrote down right, not right. So with no fear of criticism or needing to get it right, knowing that that's kind of part of your process always. I was just thinking about it. I was like, imagine if we reframed our PhD research to be about countless opportunities for collaboration, and that was the purpose of our research. People became that purpose. Like, okay, what people need to hear about our research? What people can we collaborate with on our research journey? That was something that that really sung out to me. So don't delay, just do a little bit each day. And I know Maria Gardner talks about that in her work as well. I think, what does she say, snack writing or something? I haven't quite put her philosophies into practice, but I'm not, I guess I don't have so much of a strict or rigid routine with it, but I just do the next thing and keep it alive is the way I like to think of it, like my garden. So that's me done for today. I just want to thank you all so much for being here and your participation. If there's anything you want to chat about or anything, just let me know. Get in touch and happy to have a chat. Thank you. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Well done, Simone. I'd like to give you an HD for that presentation. Well done, sweetie. I got a lot out of it, and some really good action coming out of that too.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, same, Maya. That'd be amazing. Yeah. Cool. If anyone's got any questions or comments, please feel free.
Thank you, Simone. That was really great. From what I heard of it was, you know, it's really good that you got out here and, you know, is passing on your experience, and that's fantastic. And you've done really well for early, you know, still into your middle of your PhD. So great work.
Yeah, thanks, Marianne, and thanks for all your support. Would not be here without Dr. Marianne Logan. So yeah, amazing to be on the journey. It's been really fun, but it's been lovely having you by my side throughout that. So thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure to work with you, Simone.
I know, I love working with you, Marianne.
Thank you so much, Simone. That was so inspiring.
Pleasure.
Thanks,
Thanks,
lovely.
Really great to listen to you and just understand the process. And not only that, just trying to, you know, get into my head, like, you know, this is the process and this is how you need to work on it. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Yeah. Did you have any questions or comments, Sylvia or Neha?
Thank you, Simone. It was very new knowledge for me. And one thing I really learned is not to hesitate on writing. That's actually my big problem, especially in writing in English. So I just have to build up my courage to write more.
Do you have some mentors, Sylvia?
Yes, I have Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, those people, I know they love to be a support. So, you know, use them and as well. So
Yeah.
beautiful, Sylvia. Thank you. And thanks, Nihar, as well. See you, Marianne. Bye. See you. Bye, everyone.